How you guys doing? And welcome to my book review section of my channel. And today we're going to cover the book Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn by John Maxwell. If you don't know who John Maxwell is, go Google him. He is unbelievable, one of the #1 top-selling self-development authors and business leaders. I've actually got an opportunity to meet him. I think it was like 6 years ago at a business conference, and he's just a down-to-earth, super nice guy. And again, another just exceptional book if you've read any of his other books. But what I really liked about this book is if you go back to the title, Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn, is that most people think sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. There is no such thing as loss. There's only learning. And if you can really learn that and figure that out, right? You saw what I just did there. But if you can learn that and figure that out, you're going to be extremely successful in your career. And so what I want to do today, guys, is I want to give you my top 4 takeaways from this book. Just like my past book reviews, if you get a chance, go watch those as well. I'm reading 80 books, actually 60 to 80 books this year in 2018, which is super exciting. And the reason I'm doing that is to kind of have the matrix effect where I can plug myself in and I can basically learn as fast as possible. Okay. The second reason I'm doing this is I want to hopefully get more people to read books, because I do believe reading is powerful, and I believe the more you know, the more impact you can have in your life. And so I want to start with the top 4 takeaways. So the first one is that success makes people not want to learn. So what did John mean by that, or John Maxwell mean by that? Is that sometimes what happens is when you become successful, or you get to a point where you feel successful, you stop learning because you quote unquote become the expert. I've actually had that happen to me in my life, where I thought I got my business to a sizable point and I thought it would just start growing on its own. I got it to about $2 million. And after I got it to $2 million, I personally stopped growing and stopped seeking development and stopped seeking growth. And actually, the crazy part is I went the opposite direction. Now, my business didn't, I did. And so what I can tell anybody who's watching this video right now, if you're a successful entrepreneur, which is who I coach and help succeed, what I've noticed is that the more successful someone is, the harder I am on them, because I need to push through the fact that they have built this cockiness or this confidence around who they are. And it's great, by the way. Be cocky, be confident, be arrogant, all those things, but never stop learning. So be cocky, confident about your value that you bring, but don't be cocky or confident about the learning, because you can always become better, even if you are the best in your industry. Number 2 is that successful people can handle losses better than unsuccessful people can. And obviously you might be sitting there right now saying, duh. But here's the deal, is that at the end of the day, if you talk to anybody that's successful, every single successful person has gone through downs, right? They've gone through failures. And sometimes they say that you have to fail to become successful. I don't believe that. I do think you do need to fail, but I hate to hear someone who continuously fails. I think that when you fail, you're basically learning. There's no loss, right? So if you use it as a learning lesson versus I failed, then yes, you're going to improve. But what I loved about what he was saying, what John Maxwell was saying with this, is that successful people are able to handle losses better. And all that essentially means, guys, if you ever seen the movie Rocky, when he gets knocked out, but he gets back up in that scene, right, with Apollo Creed, where Apollo's cheering, he thinks he won, right? He's getting held up, and then all of a sudden Rocky gets off the mat, and you just see Apollo look back at him, and it's as if someone stole Apollo's soul from him, because Rocky got up and kicked him for the rest of the fight, kicked his butt, and ended up winning the fight. And he just looked at him and go, how the heck is that guy getting back up? And that's what you have to understand, is successful people are that way, where it's just like, okay, they had that crazy failure. How the heck did they actually get through it? And that's what we all love to hear, is the success stories, right? And the success story typically has involved in it some sort of failure. I've failed multiple times in my life, but it's all about how fast can you recover? How fast can you get back up and keep going? Number 3, and this was my favorite, is that your history, which is your past, is not your identity. So your history, which is not your identity. So what did John Maxwell mean by this, or at least my interpretation of it, is that a lot of people dictate their future based on their past. So if that's the case, when you were 16 years old, I want you to think right now, are you different than you were when you were 16? I'll give you a minute to think about that. I'm hoping the answer is yes, right? And so if the answer is yes, that means that your future has nothing to do with your past. So for me, I grew up in a lower socioeconomic status. My parents are just above the poverty line. I personally did not want to live that way, and I changed it for my family and myself, and I decided to, find a way to make money and become financially successful, if you will. But what I discovered is that if I would have sat in my mindset, the past mindset, right, the not growth mindset, the fixed mindset, which a lot of my friends did where I grew up. I don't mean to be mean to them, but a lot of them associated, well, my parents are mechanics, I'm going to be a mechanic. My parents don't make a lot of money, so I guess I can't make a lot of money. So wrong, guys. Your past does not dictate your future, and it definitely doesn't dictate your identity. And the reason I can tell you that is literally a year ago, I was about 45 pounds heavier, and I was completely out of shape. And my identity was I was a fat guy. Here's the crazy part. Look at me now. Right now, I'm not saying that to impress you if you're watching this video. I'm showing you that your past does not dictate your future, but it's all about your identity. What do you see yourself as? And now I see myself as a guy with a six-pack. I'm a bodybuilder, and that's great, and that's what I'm going to remain in the future, but I'm going to keep pushing myself to the next level of that, just like reading 80 books in 2018. Why? I'm the guy who reads books, right? Growing companies, I'm the guy who grows businesses, right? And you can change your identity, and it doesn't have to be dictated on your past. And you hear, again, back to success stories, you see it all the time. The guy that was in jail and now is a successful lawyer, I forget his name, or you can watch really any successful person. It's insane. Sometimes their stories are just, you're just like, what the heck? Or Eric Thomas, who is homeless, right? And now he's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. So that's number 3. Number 4, okay? Number 4 is that you can pay now and play later, or play now and pay later. Now, what this kind of comes back to, guys, is that, I call it the work hard, play hard, and a lot of people play hard and work hard later, right? Or they don't work at all. And so when I was in my 20s, I had a blast, by the way. I just turned 30, so I'm not quite, I just got out of my 20s, and I had a blast. I traveled a lot, had a lot of fun, but I also worked my ass off. And if anybody's watching that is in their 20s and even in your 30s, or you have not put that full effort in and you have to now, go all in. That's all I'm saying is you're going to have the opportunity to play later. Now, again, schedule in play, right? And you can do both at the same time. But you have to understand that when you're working, you have to go all in. You have to be obsessed. Because if your goal is just to play, then that's fine, by the way. There's no right or wrong way of living your life. You make that decision. But what I've noticed about even myself is that when I go all in on something, I always end up playing later. I always end up having the time of my life. But you can't have the time of your life if you don't hit your goals. So again, I'm going to recap, guys, for you the top 4 things I took from this book. The number 1 thing is success makes people not want to learn. So you have to actually be prepared for that when you become successful. Number 2 is successful people can handle losses better. Number 3 is your history is not your identity. So your past is not who you will become in the future. And either you pay now, right? Or you pay late, pay now or play now. Or you pay now and play later. So I'll finish with that, guys. I recommend you go pick this book up, and any book by John Maxwell. And again, John, if you ever watch this video, thank you for writing so many amazing books. And I really appreciate it, and this book is unbelievable. So I'll talk to you guys later, and have a great night.